Welcome to Between the Pipes. Today, I have my hands on one of the newest things I think I'm ever going to own tech-wise, and with that, I'm super excited to talk about it. And this new thing is the HTC One M8. Not to be confused with the other HTC Ones that have come up in the years past, as the One is the title they're giving their new flagship phone. Kind of like how Samsung labels everything the Galaxy. So with this, there's some improvements over last year's model, which I'm not going to go too much in detail because I've never actually held the phone. Now, this phone has about 90% of the body covered with an aluminium frame. It has a nice brushed texture to it, and it just looks really nice. The front of the phone is about 15 centimeters corner to corner for full total real estate, with about 12 and a half of that being the screen, with a resolution of 1080 by 1920 with about 441 ppi. On the front, we also have the two iconic front-facing speakers that HTC is now being known for, as it's come up on their couple last models, with now boom sound as opposed to beats, and a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. Continuing with the exterior of the device, moving to the top, we have the power button and sleep button, which also acts as an IR blaster to control your TV, your stereo. And because of this, the button is plastic as opposed to metal for the rest of the phone, and that cascades to the entire top of the phone. And while this plastic is prone to scratching, it does seem fitting, especially where you need the plastic to have the IR go through, where it's not going to be able to penetrate through metal. And I find that its positioning is a little awkward in my natural holding position in my right hand, but this is a minor issue and is easily, rectified by moving my hand or holding in my opposite hand. Going down the left side of the phone, we have a nano SIM tray, and for the size of the card, the tray seems a bit oversized, but after it's installed, unless you're switching networks all the time, it's really not going to be a big issue. You never really notice it afterwards. On the bottom of the device, we have our micro USB 2.0 charging and data port, as well as our 3.5mm headset port. The placement here I find is kind of touch and go. When I naturally place my phone into my pants pocket, I put it top down with the bottom up towards the sky into my right pocket, so how I hold the phone, it goes into the pocket naturally, which allows the audio port to be easily accessible. But now when I jump into my car, I plug it into my auxiliary port there, now the phone has to be upside down in a cup holder. It's not a real deal breaker, but it's a bit annoying if something were to happen, the phone then has to be turned around. On the right side, we have a micro SIM tray, which can support up to 128 gigabytes of data, which I find is crazy, because I also remember back when a 2 gigabyte card was huge. And this is used to complement the 16 or 32 gigabytes of internal storage, depending on what model you have or which one you pick up. As well as we have the volume rocker. Now at first, I felt the volume rocker was a little small compared to my last phone, but after using it, if it were any bigger, it would just feel awkward. And also, my phone is about 3 generations old at this point. This was right before the first HTC One came out. Now, onto the back of the device, along with the curved body, we have the HTC branding, as well as 2 etched lines that end up lining up with the screen edges. We also have 2 LEDs for flashing with the camera or a flashlight, and we have 2 cameras on the back here. One is a 4 megapixel or the ultra pixel camera, and the other is a 2 megapixel camera that is used pretty much just for depth sensing. So when you go in, you can kind of alter your pictures later on, but I don't really use my phone as a camera, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Now, the inside of the device, or the inner workings, we have a Qualcomm MSM 8974AB Snapdragon 801 chipset, as well as a quad-core 2.3 gigahertz if you're in the US or EMEA markets, or that's now 2.5 gigahertz in the Asian and China markets, Crate 400 CPU. Also, there's a non-removable polymer lithium-ion battery that's rated at 2,600 milliamp hours. Now, this may seem a little smaller compared to what else is on the market, but I've been using mine for a couple weeks now, and I am regularly getting 36 hours on a single charge with medium to heavy usage, but I've also kept my power saving feature on as soon as I found out about it, which was, I think, right before the first charge. Now, I don't like my screen super bright anyway, and this is just one of the things that I found is being used in the power saver, is along with kind of sending it into a deeper sleep mode after periods of inactivity. And so to me, it just made sense. And all of this kind of fancy stuff with the the internals and the metal frame gives the phone a weight of about 160 grams, which may appear a little heavy at times, but after you use it for a little bit, it's not that noticeable. Now, here, while we're still talking about the composition and the weight, there have been some complaints with the phone being slick and slippery because of the metal finish. And on day one, I did almost drop my phone a couple times getting used to it, but afterwards, I've had no issues ever since. Now, this is also, I find that with any new phone, getting used to the composition, it kind of slides out of your hand. So you just have to be patient, get used to it, get a case if you're worried about, something like that. Now, moving on into the software side. Now, this thing is shipped with KitKat 4.4.2 stock, as well as HTC Sense 6, the UI of HTC. With this, we have some kind of neat features for the phone, more for the unlocking of it. A quick double tap will wake up the phone, kind of going to your unlock screen, as well as from there another double tap will turn it back off. So if you want to just check your alerts quickly. From here, from the sleeping phone, you can also tap and swipe. Now, depending on which direction you swipe, will determine what opens up. If you swipe up, it unlocks whatever you were doing last, just as if you unlock the phone. If you swipe left, you go back to your home screen. And if you swipe right, you go to Blink Feed. It's an HTC highlight feed for various social media news stories, and it can be disabled if you so choose to within your settings or within your home screen management. Now, at first, I wasn't really overly fond of it, but turning it on because it's there and getting used to it and kind of getting a better idea of it, it's kind of growing on me. Now, with this, we also have a max of 5 other screens. Now, if you disable Blink Feed, you're still left with 5 screens, and if you have Blink Feed on, you have 6 screens. Which, for me, it's nothing new from the HTC Sense, as the last phone I had, which was, I think, HTC Sense 4, also had 5 screens. But comparing it to the last driver, this is one of the only real things I'll compare it to, I'd like to have seen one of two things with this phone. Either a carry-on or carousel mode to continually cycle through all my home screens, or have a scrolling background if I can't go from screen 1 to 5, or from 5 to 1. Like, if I can't have that jump, I'd at least like to be able to have a bigger wallpaper so I can scroll around it. It's kind of a personal preference, but it's nothing really big or deal-breaking. But I would have liked to have it without having to put on another launcher. Because I do like Sense, I like the feel, I like how a lot of the widgets work natively with the phone without having to go and get new ones. Now, there's nothing really super new with the phone operations, as if you're kind of used to Android, it kind of feels natural. Now, but within the app drawer, there have been a couple customizations, like you can actually move in a certain option, the customized layout, you can move stuff around, you can put them into folders in your app drawer, which is kind of neat because I have all the carrier specific apps I don't really use, I keep together. All the ones I do use, I can keep together. So it's kind of a nice touch there. Now, with this, HTC has gone with the disappearing capacitive buttons, which Google is kind of pushing out to the companies, be like, hey, use this. And at times they don't disappear when needed, and it can cause errors in some like awesome jetpack joyride runs, but it's a pretty petty qualm. Most of the time for playback and videos, they do disappear and they do come up when needed. The response is really good. That's also with your internals of the phone. So there's nothing really big there. Now, the really good thing that I like about this is with the front-facing speakers, the playback and the sound quality is awesome. I can hear this from across the house. And with that, the actual call quality using the phone as a phone, it's about the same as my last one. So for there's really no big changes. But as this is a premium phone, it does have a higher price point on and off contract. So for off contract, it's about that $600 point, where on contract it's like that $200 to $300, which can be a bit extravagant. But if you're going to get a new phone, these are the kind of prices we're paying now anyway. But for me, the big downfall right now is that there's no real good cases for the device in my area. The phone is still too new, and most retailers are saying that it's too new. If you really want one that bad, go get one on eBay. But again, you're paying for the case and shipping and all that, so it's kind of a first world problem, right? So it's just kind of my personal downfall. But anyway, that's it from me. I hope you like this, and until next time, keep those skates sharp and those sticks taped.